So I've been pretty cautious when it comes to build videos ever since I came out with that monstrosity that was the best Payday build in 2020. I've since pledged to never call anything I make related to Payday the best, and taken a fair few lessons in the art of humility and, well, Payday 2. I've learned a lot about the game over the past 2 years and hope that comes across whenever I talk about it, which is why I finally feel brave enough to showcase my favourite build right now, which also happens to be one that's been turning a few heads in my recent gameplay based on the comments I've been receiving. Let's see if I can finally shake off the shackles of ICTV Anarchist with the same perk deck that I butchered almost 2 years ago for my latest DSOD build. This setup draws on the power of one of the most fun weapons in the game, the Wasp SMG, better known as the FMG9, added in Galfung Smuggler Pack 4. Don't worry if you're a console or DLC-less player, I'm going to give you a free-to-play alternative later on, but if you're on the fence about the last weapon pack, know that all 3 weapons it added offer something unique and actually add value beyond stats and appearance, which is why I'm a huge fan of the DLC overall and recommend it if this build is something you'd like to replicate exactly. First of all, let's touch on the build concept. Essentially, it's founded in the idea that outside of possibly graze sniping, there's nothing more satisfying in Payday 2 than doing so much damage in a short span of time that entire groups of enemies can't respond to you. If you're a bit of an adrenaline junkie who wants fast gameplay that relies on reaction speed, this setup is ideal for you, as you'll seldom be more than 2 shots from death, but you'll always have the upper hand in terms of who can kill the fastest. This enables you to make more daring plays outside of cover, as your sheer DPS and ability to sustain armor with Bullseye and Anarchist make you a consistently tough target for the cops. I can't count the number of rushes I've made that seemed unlivable on DSOD, but have been saved by a combination of my damage potential and skill activations, which is where the Wasp comes in. You see, I'm talking about my secondary first, simply because it really is the star of the show. Oh, and it looks amazing. Never underestimate the value of style points when choosing your weapon. But getting into the gritty details, with the highest SMG fire rate in the game at 1333 and the lowest base damage of 40, it's a DPS powerhouse even if its damage per shot seems lackluster. On the surface, it would be easy to just conclude that more damage and more controllable fire rate would be preferable, as that should up your efficiency and ammo sustain. But that's forgetting that a high fire rate can play into the all-important armor sustain skills that Anarchist builds rely on. Lust for Life and Bullseye should be procced on cooldown when firing a weapon that puts so many shots down range in such a short space of time. I also just really enjoy bullet hose style weaponry, which this most certainly is. To make it a viable primary though, it needs a lot more than just DPS potential. Accuracy, stability and ammo sustain are all just as important, and especially with a fire rate like it has, mag capacity and reload speed will also play a part in its true damage per second. Fortunately, it has all these stats in spades. As an already highly concealable weapon out of the box, by sacrificing a few points of concealment, we can max out at 96 accuracy and stability, which is absolutely sufficient for you to control this gun even over fairly long distances. Its ammo capacity sitting at 240 and ammo pickup ranging between 10 and 18 per box is more than sufficient to self-sustain, which is crazy to me given its ridiculous fire rate. Finally, with the aid of the Celerity mag attachment, we shave its base reload down to 1.77 seconds from empty and 1.08 seconds when tactically reloaded. These are top tier reload speeds, massively outperforming the likes of the Micro Uzi, which it's often compared to, whilst only having 2 fewer shots in a mag at 30 base. With the skills you'll see later on, I even luck to augment this, so in practice, expect to be constantly outputting damage with this SMG. It does suffer from fairly severe damage drop-off, going down to 0.5 times its usual damage by the 17 meter range, but thanks to its solid handling stats, it can still hold its own at these ranges even if that's not where it excels, especially once you wrap your head around tap firing. The one glaring issue it has is its holster time, going through a 1.8 second unequip delay as it plays this pretty sweet animation, which is why I'm effectively building to make it my primary. The logic being, if you seldom have to switch it out, you don't have to worry about dealing with its greatest drawback. Of course, some players have considered Rogue or Overkill Ace to work around this problem, but I'd argue that Rogue simply isn't as reliable as Anarchist, even with Killer Instinct, and Overkill is just too great of a point investment when we want to maximise the Wasp specifically with our finite skill points. That's why I've gone with the GL40 in the primary slot for pure utility purposes. If you're pinned down and somehow run out of Wasp ammo, it's great for providing ammo boxes efficiently. It has fantastic concealment potential to allow us to focus on other more important stats for our SMG, and it deals easily with shields and provides another option against large groups. Not much to say about the GL40 really. It used to be a staple in many DSOD builds, but even after seeing some nerfs, it can still do a job up against heavy SWATs and shields, all important for this build, unless you choose to spec into shock and awe, which I'll touch on in a moment. One other consideration is of course the saw, the ideal objective utility weapon. With a few tweaks to this build, we can still hit a high enough concealment stat with it, so don't count it out if you enjoy being a team player. But here's where I choose to invest my 120 points in this build. Starting in Mastermind, we pick up Combat Medic, Quick Fix and Combat Doctor Aced. Inspire fans, don't worry, the Inspire version is on its way. Then over in Controller, we have Force Friendship, Joker, Confident and Partners in Crime both aced. Finally, I pick up Stable Shot with an extra point. In Enforcer, I place a spare point in Underdog, ace Resilience, grab Die Hard, and then unusually ace out Bullseye. Normally, the basic variant of this skill is more than enough, but I've been testing out the extra 6-point investment to keep my armor topped up more consistently, which is possible thanks to the serious DPS of this weapon. Tough to say for certain, but I've found it to be worthwhile from my testing so far. Then I use one last point in Enforcer to pick up Scavenger. In Technician, we grab Hardware Expert, then Steady Grip, Surefire, Lock and Load and Body Expertise all aced out. This should massively improve the Wasp viability over range and boost its DPS even further by increasing its mag size and reload speed. Moving over to Ghost, it's Duck and Cover, Second Wind into the Professional and Low Blow aced, with 4 points going to Unseen Strike, a vastly underestimated skill due to the misleading description it used to have. In Fugitive, we have 9 lives aced for 1 down, and Martial Arts Bloodthirst, so we can pick up Berserker aced. This, combined with the extra crit damage from Ghost, will turn the Wasp into a lethal killing machine. As I mentioned, I have a few skill replacements for you to consider if this isn't to your liking. Try dropping Underdog, Resilience aced, Bullseye aced, and Lock and Load aced if you want to spec all the way into Inspire for online DSOD lobbies, and you can always consider dropping Bullseye and Resilience aced to instead pick up Shock and Awe aced, allowing you to much more easily deal with shields without switching weapons. This is definitely a preference thing if you'd rather stay away from a primary weapon altogether. Taking a look at the finishing touches for this build, we run Anarchist with the 2-piece suit, aiming to gate damage with its incredibly fast recharge speed. Doctor's Bags when things go wrong with the glass cannon setup, Molotovs for Berserker, and finally the Shinsakuto Katana for Bloodthirst kills. This is a luxury because we have extra concealment to play with thanks to the GL40. This is particularly relevant against dozers and bosses such as the newly added Yufu Wang. If you're over on console or don't have access to the weapon as it's locked behind a DLC, try this setup out with the much more accessible Krinkov. You won't be able to emulate the spray and pray playstyle as it's much more of a precision SMG, but it has the damage and fire rate to put out even higher DPS than the Wasp, albeit with a much lower margin for error due to its lower ammo pickup and capacity. I'm predominantly recommending it as an alternative, as the Krinkov is also a very capable primary, despite being categorized as a secondary SMG, and it fits snugly into this build when we switch over to the Ice Pick for extra concealment. Definitely a DSOD viable alternative for those of you who can't run the Wasp. Moving back over to the Wasp gameplay though, there are a few things to touch on here. First, Berserker and how to get the most out of its damage buff. Of course, we can use our Molotovs to achieve a sizable multiplier, but if I go down during a heist and have to heal, or feel like flashbangs are better for this specific heist, I like to actually use heavy swats to manually bring my health down. When playing solo and with a convert already taken, it's possible to stand in front of one of these guys armorless to get a very high Zert bonus from just a single shot. Just remember to headshot them right back before the grace period expires, or they might end up downing you. Outside of that, I recommend that you play in a mobile and aggressive fashion, given that the Wasp is comfortably at its most powerful within 5 meters of a target, and it has no issue facing off against large groups so long as they are nearby and only coming from one direction. As a result, I'd say this build is best on close quarters holdout heists such as the newly added Mountain Master, Undercover, or No Mercy, or when used to break the lines and rush an objective on a heist like Alaskan Deal, or as you're seeing here on the Black Cat. Another nice feature is that you won't be punished for being an obsessive reloader, as I am, seeing as the Wasp can reload in under half a second when used as I am here. Once you get the hang of the Wasp's recoil pattern and get a good feel for the weapon, you should have no problem picking off cops over range or hitting those pivotal headshots to top your armor up with Bullseye. Also, you should eventually get used to having to occasionally slow down and find cover to compensate for its slow weapon swap speed, at least whenever it feels necessary to pull out the GL40. Remember, Suit Anarchist is a forgiving deck, allowing you to take multiple shots on DSOD without dying, which is a huge boon for massively over-aggressive players such as myself who don't have the patience to wait out assaults. However, you're far from invincible, and it's very possible to get doubled down if you play flippantly. Another issue I've found when playing this build is that I'll often overextend when I switch back to something like Hacker, so try to remain conscious of the tools that are allowing you to stay alive and don't start to take them for granted. If you do, I think this is an excellent build to help players build their confidence on DSOD and get better at flicking from enemy to enemy, improving aim and reaction time. It's this fast-paced and aggressive style that has led to this becoming comfortably my favourite build of 2022 thus far. So let me know what you think. What's your favourite build right now, and what are you running in your casual lobbies or DSOD solos as of update 2.19? Payday 2 is in a decent place for build variety, but I'm still hoping that the coming updates shake things up in the ways we were promised last year. In any case, I'm happy to hear and discuss suggestions to improve on my build in the comments down below. I'd love to know what the consensus is on the Wasp. I think it's a monster and can't stop using it, but I know some people hated the clunky animations when it came out, and I can definitely see their point at times. All that said, as ever, be sure to check out Apex Gaming PCs from the link in the description if a heisting themed PC specifically tailor-made for Payday 2 strikes your fancy. And I'll see you all very soon. As ever, thank you very much to my Mean Infamy patrons and above. If you want to join that infamous club to see yourself in the credits or get early exclusive access to my videos, including the story videos, check out my Patreon link below. Remember, the Discord is open to all if you crave some more Payday discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you all very soon for the next one.